High School Musical 3 is a really solid film. I'd say it's better than the second film. Probably not better than the first film, though. This was released in 2008. It's directed by Kenny Ortega and is written by Peter Bertolini. And we have a brilliant cast, of course, including Zac Efron, Vanessa Hudgens, and Ashley Tisdale. And they're all seniors now, getting ready to leave school and go to college while also putting on an end-of-year performance. And there are a lot of different things happening, but the narrative mostly focuses on Troy and Gabriella, the fact that if they're going to different colleges, they might be separated, and decisions they have to make surrounding that. Sharpay, as always, is trying to cause problems and get what she wants. And I think they handled the narrative very well. It gets quite emotional. I always would get emotional. Happy but emotional, not just when leaving school, but at the end of term before summer, because I loved school, and the idea of being away from everybody was really emotional. And I think it kind of really took me back to that time. And if somebody watches this around the time they're leaving school, I think it could be really comforting and really supportive, just to remind people that actually everybody goes through this whole plethora of emotions. And I think they did a really great job with it. In terms of the music, there are a couple of songs I want to mention that I rather liked. And these are Right Here, Right Now, I Want It All, and Can I Have This Dance? I also loved... Well, actually, I'll talk about that with a spoiler warning in a moment. And I also have a question, because I was kind of baffled by something, but I'll talk about that in a moment. The choreography, absolutely brilliant. The performances are fabulous. The characters are great. The narrative itself is very well handled. The pacing is brilliant. There are a lot of emotions. Honestly, it has a lot to offer, and it feels like a very realistic portrayal of this time at school when it comes to the end of it all, and I rather enjoyed it. This isn't the first time I've seen this film. I had actually seen it before. I saw it in the cinema, despite the fact that I hadn't seen the second film. You really don't need to see the second film to follow this, but I'd say it's worth watching anyway. But I absolutely recommend the third film. It's a great way to end things, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Great music, great narrative, great performances. No complaints here at all. And I will now mention the other thing that's, I guess, a bit of a spoiler for how things conclude. And this is the last thing I have to say about the film. So at the end, as I said, it is a spoiler. At the end, they're graduating. I love the music in that scene. And when their names are getting called out on stage, and they're revealing what colleges they're going to. And I have two questions. One, is that common? When you graduate high school in the States, do you also tell people what school you're going to? Or was it maybe just something created for the film as a way to kind of wrap up all of the characters' journeys? If it's created for the film, works well enough. My other question is, when do you get your acceptance letters for college in the States? Because in the UK, you will not know. It's very unlikely that you would know which university you're going to before you leave school, because we have our exams and then we pretty much leave school. That's it, we're gone. We don't get our offers for university until we're on summer break, for the most part. If maybe you have enough credits before that, you might get an unconditional offer. You might get a conditional offer before that, but again, you wouldn't find out exactly which school you're going to unless you got an unconditional offer, and that's not likely to happen until you've already left school. So for me, the idea of people knowing where they're going before they've even left school honestly kind of feels reassuring. That would be really great, because I remember the time period between leaving. I went to college after school because I wanted to do a radio course before I went to university. And that time period between finishing and then waiting for the acceptance is absolutely horrible. So if it is an option in the States where you find out before you've even graduated, that would be pretty brilliant. I hope that's the case. But I'd love to know more about that. It just struck me as unusual from my experiences. But I'd love to know more if anybody wants to share. That aside, High School Musical 3, Senior Year. I don't think I mentioned the full title at the beginning. High School Musical 3, Senior Year is a really solid film. And honestly, a great way to wrap things up. And as I said, I'd say it's the middle film. The first film is the best. The third is the second. The second film's okay. It's not amazing. But in general, it's a good series, and High School Musical 3 is a pretty brilliant film.